everybody. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. So today we are going to talk about the onion. Here is an onion. Look at this, real onion. And this is the core of the onion, of course, and there's a bunch of layers. And there's very end you can see, like, you've seen the onion, right? So we're going to talk about inner coach and inner critic. And I will also tell you how it ties with the onion. I also have a blog with it, a companion blog that is on my website. I'm going to link it down in the description section below. So if you want to read it later, feel free to read it. It is similar, but just put it in a little bit different way. Here we get a chance to kind of laugh together, right? In a blog, you can laugh, but I can't see you guys. Here, I feel like I can see you guys through the camera. Anyway. So this is the onion, the core part of the onion, right? So I kind of tried to draw it beforehand a little bit. We all are born with this. This is a version, it's fearless, right? When you are a kid, you are not afraid of anything. And if you have a little kid, my daughter is 9. Now she knows, but when she was young, she didn't know that if she touches the stove, she's going to burn her hand. And it happens with all the kids. So for you, the point is not that you want to go touch a hot stove, but the point is, as time goes by, we are born with this light, we are born with this fearless part of us, and as time goes by, lots of layers keep forming, and these layers are fear. And when somebody says you can't do something, you keep forming more and more layers. So inside of us, there is 2 versions, right? The subconscious and the conscious, where, you have heard the inner critic. Inner critic is like saying, oh, you are not good enough. You can't do this. You don't look good, and all of that thing. And the inner coach, on the other hand, is like your best friend. You are limitless. You can do anything you want. And they say you are beautiful. So that's the difference. This is always inside your mind. The inner critic is fighting with the inner coach. But how to break out of those shells, that is what we're going to talk about today. So this is there. And then there is 3 things. So the first happens as it's like the generational limit, right? So when I was growing up in India, it happened probably with a lot of people here too, right? With money, for example, they will tell you the story of money. Oh, money don't grow in trees and things like that. Or people like us, I had a very close person telling me, as a woman, even if I do engineering, companies don't give me jobs. I laugh now, but at the time it didn't feel good. I was in my high school. Guess what? I became an engineer, I worked, all of that, 21 years of corporate, whatever. So the point is, a woman can't do this. Okay, a layer is formed. And even before that, just by the thought alone, right? I'm a brown woman. A lot of people will think like, oh, brown people can't do that, black people can't do that, white people can't do that. We are all human race, people. We are all the same. It took me 40-some years to really get to the bottom of it. When I say get to the bottom of it, in my head. Because it's all the stories that we are telling ourselves. Somebody can say that you're different if you're brown versus somebody's white. But it is in your head. You have to break that story that we are all the same, human race. The other day I was even telling Alice. That's a different story altogether. I'm not going to tell you guys much. We were in a restaurant, somebody next to us, they're talking about black and white people, something. I actually didn't pay attention. Later on, Alice was telling me that, oh, those people are racist. They said this. I'm like, no, don't say that. We are outside the restaurant by then. I'm like, one thing I want you to remember, I need you to remember, that's what I told her, I need you to remember that we are all the same race. We are human race. It took me a long time to realize, but if you remember that in your life, you'll be able to do a lot of things. So my daughter, she's a mixed kid. I'm Indian. Her dad is white. So she looks more brownish. But anyway, she looks more Indian than white, I would say. But anyway, so the point is that we are all human race. So if somebody tells you that you cannot do it, even in your family, and a lot of them, they have good intentions, right? Your uncle, your grandfather, your grandmother, oh, people like us don't do this. Then, those are the thing. A lot of it, it's not even just the talks. It becomes like a, I need to order some markers, by the way. So today they still have the Amazon Prime thing, so I got to order. You guys are like, what is she talking about in the video? But that's the point. I keep it authentic, just like the way I'm talking to you guys, as if you're right here. So a lot of it happens as you go through in life. It is not just always the talks, it's the gestures and things like that. So the first layer is generational. I want you guys to remember, this is important. Generational, right? And that is very hard to break. You will see the other ones are also, but this is, sometimes we don't even realize it's there. Then number 2 is when you go out in the world, right? A friend who doesn't like you at school or something, and they're jealous of you, they're saying something, and then that becomes another layer. And those layers keep piling on. You go to high school, you go to college, and all of that, the layers keep piling on. Eventually, and then when you work, that's a bigger part, right? So you do good work, someone else gets your credit, and not only that, your boss passes you over to give the promotion to somebody else who did not deserve, but you deserved it. They are friends or something. That's why it happened, and they look alike, and whatever that may be. No matter what, we put the layers. So this is the number 2 layers. When people say you're not good enough or they didn't recognize you, that's second layer, which keeps going on in all the outer world, school, colleges, and other peer groups and stuff like that. That's number 2. I would put more on a career, because that's a big part of our life, right? 1/3 of the, even if you work 8 hours a day, 1/3 of your life you're working. So that has a huge impact. Your boss has a huge impact in your life, your personal life and your work life, because if you have a good work life, you're happy at home, and if your boss is terrible, then that terribleness, some of that comes home, because you're feeling good, feeling bad, feeling stressed, all that. And then in your personal life, because in this channel we talk about divorce and all of that, how to reinvent yourself. So after divorce, a lot of times, it's that for some people I have seen it has taken years and decades. They're still there. That's one of the reasons why I'm so inspired to do this work. For me, I lost my job and my marriage in the same month, November 2023. But from there, it took me a year to recover and get to a point where I was able to start coaching and helping other people with framework and whatnot that I have been working for so long. But anyway, a lot of people tell me, how was this thing so quick for you? Now, the thing is, that's a longer story behind it. I have probably decades of falling and getting up, falling and getting up. And that's what kept building my resilience. So we're not going to go there today. But the whole point is, if you had a divorce or breakup from a long-term relationship, some way, shape, or form, they might have told you you are not good enough, and you felt like you are not attractive enough, or you are not, you fall short in this area, you fall short in that area, you talk too loud, you are too talkative, you don't talk enough, or whatever that may be. Basically, the point is you are not enough, right? So that number 3 is your partner, and why the partner is important. And you can see that number 1 is like the family where you are born. It's the generational, right? Because you have extended family, all of that. Number 2 is career, and number 3 is your partner, because partner is a person you are choosing for the rest of your life, and you are choosing somebody who, when we are born in a family, that's not our choice. You believe in God, universe, whatever you believe in, you're just born in a family. But that one, the partner, you choose, right? So you choose, and you trust each other and all of that. And when you are in a very long-term relationship, so in my case, we're together 14 years and 12 years married out of those 14 years, because we dated first 2 years. So there is a lot of impact of that, because you have the person you have trusted the most, and then all the difficult things happen. Right now I'm smiling and laughing, but it's definitely not a laughing matter. So it takes a long time to get there, but a lot of falling and getting up, that resiliency took me, helped me to get there in a year. Anyway, so this part, the partner, when they say you are not good enough, and that is the inner critic. And that's why I'm saying the onion and the layers, it's not anybody else, my friends. Like for me, it's me versus me, now, the inner critic and the inner coach. And for you, it is you versus you. It's always you versus you, nobody else. So I'll give you a very short, very quick example, quick example. So yesterday something happened. It's a personal thing, so I can't get into too much detail, but something happened that kind of made me really sad. And I even cried. Took me an hour to get over that. And then I figured that I have to take some action. And that is the rules and all of that I teach about in my coaching. That same thing last year, around this time, even though when I was getting on the other side, it would have easily taken me like 3 days, 4 days. I would keep talking about it. But that is your inner critic. By doing that, you are in that hamster wheel. You are just losing time. There is no gain in that, right? There is only pain that comes out of that. So the action, when you take the action, it's a positive action, future-focused positive action. What do you want to do with that made you sad, right? So I sulked for an hour, maybe less actually, 45 minutes or so, because I paid attention to the time, because I have been doing this for so long. I take situations like to learn, the situations that make me sad, frustrated, angry, whatever. So I take those situations to learn, and from there I figure like, okay, what can I do to so that next time it doesn't cause that for me? Like, what is the action? So it becomes like a formula that you can go to. So then I took some action, I was out of it, and then I went for a walk, I was listening to music and all of that. But same thing, last year it had taken 3 days at least, if not longer. So as I was talking to you about family that you're born with, career, partner, these are the big ones. There is in between things too, like sometime you would go to a restaurant and then you have a bad service with the waiter is bad, whatever. Those are like little things that also creates issues, but those are not as big. Finally, at the outer layer is you create yourself. And that's why I drew it like big, like a red, thick. This is the wall that you create for yourself to protect yourself. You know, that flight or fight, right? So when something big happens, our inner critic just goes on an autopilot, like fully on pilot mode, and inner coach dies, because we want to protect this. So as we try to protect it, we keep building layers and layers and layers, and then the final one, so I'm going to show you the real onion again. So think of this, it's like the outer layer of the onion, right? It kind of looks different. So it's kind of protecting the inside, right? In this case, it's not as thick, but the point is, kind of smells. I wish you guys could smell the thing through the phone. But the point is, the onion, the outer layer, first you have to break the outer layer. And that comes with awareness, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. First, you have the awareness that you have, your mind is the onion, is the inner coach, is the green part. That's where you want to get to. But outside of that, there are lots of layers. The first layer is the biggest one. You having that awareness. It could take a month, it could take 6 months, it could take a year, depending on how consistent you are. Think of it this way. Like, water, when it flows through a rock over and over and over, what happens? It creates a path. It even kind of, not break, but it kind of creates a path for itself, and seems like the rock over time, it kind of gives in. So same thing like that, when you are consistent, like water, right? You keep going, keep strengthening your inner coach with the things that help you, right? If you're listening to my videos or you're doing your mindfulness practice, anything that works for you. You can keep coming in this channel. We'll have lots of different tools. When you do that, eventually that breaks open the big layer. The big layer first cracks open. And that is actually the first big breakthrough. And you will know when it happens, because you will be aware when somebody says something bad right away. Instead of reacting, you'll be like, maybe I can learn something from that. And the lesson won't come to you right away, but at least you'll have that thought. And that is that. That means you have broken the outer layer, which is the hardest one to break. Because after that, little by little, sometimes the layers are breaking and then you're forming new layers. So when you're aware, slowly you will break them, and eventually the next hardest one is the generational one. Because the generational the generational layer, the first one that is built right when you are born, either it's the color of your skin or things like that. Those are a lot of time people around you, they don't talk about it. It's the gesture and all of that. It comes through that, and that is why it's harder. So when you are aware, you will pay more attention not only to the words, but to the gestures and tones and things like that. And then you'll be able to break it. And then finally, your inner coach comes out, right? So let me just wipe this out for you. So it helps you remember that, right? So when you have that, my friends, life is limitless. Life is absolutely limitless. You become unshakable. You become unbreakable. There is no limit. There is literally no limit. And one last thing to remember in this whole thing is that if you compare yourself with another person, so even though you have layers like onion, they have layers, you don't compare with somebody else. You compare with your prior version. And when you do that, there is no limit, because as soon as you compare yourself with someone else, their limit becomes your limit. You don't go beyond. But here's what happens when you compare yourself a day before, a week before, or a month before, and then you keep growing, there's no limit, literally no limit. The sky is the limit, and I say sky is not the limit. There is no limit at all. I know it doesn't really make much sense to say sky is not the limit, but my whole point is, if you compare yourself with your prior version, right? So I was giving you the example yesterday, what made me sad for an hour last year would be 3 days, and I can reduce it to seconds or almost nothing. Right? Now, I don't work in that way that, I'm not processing the emotion, because that is something you got to be careful. It's not about just reducing the time without processing. I have trained my mind in a way that when things happen that makes me sad, I figure out, I become more logical. Okay, I cried and all of that happened. Now, next thing, what can I do? I have the triangle. You guys know, if you have been coming here for a while, the thinking, speaking, action. Speaking makes the biggest difference, but ultimate difference maker is the action. So for me, since I'm on this path for a long time, I immediately go in the action as much as possible quickly, right? So I knew that I had to take some future-focused action, which will get me out of this fastest, right? So do that, my friends, and keep breaking those layers, and you will become unstoppable. So with this, I'm going to finish the video, and thank you for watching. Please do share my channel with others, especially somebody who is in the dark tunnel after divorce or job loss, because I lost both of them at the same time. Anything is possible. My journey, a lot of people, and I feel so grateful, because this did not start as a company. This did not start as a business. This started as a survival journey, and I feel so grateful that it is helping people. And my faith journey took a turn too. You guys will see the early days in my videos. I actually had Buddha in here, Buddha's picture, and over there I had, there's my table. Over there I had a Hindu god behind me, like a tapestry. And here you can see that Jesus is teaching kids. So a journey that I could have never predicted. This is not faith-based channel, so I don't talk about faith other than on Sunday. I do a Coffee Lounge Talk. That's a fun one. Join there if you like. But that whole thing is a different story. Take care. So we'll finish with that. Bye.